Now, here in France, the government is currently in the middle of a far-reaching national consultation as they seek solutions to end domestic violence. It will produce the results later next month. The government already considering a new law that will see abusive partners who push women to commit suicide to face criminal convictions. Just to give you an idea of the extent of the problem, a woman is killed every 3 days in France, either by her partner or ex-partner. The country having a higher rate of femicide than many of its European neighbours, including the UK, Netherlands, Italy and Spain. And joining me now is French feminist Marianne Ducan. Marianne, thanks for coming in. What are you hoping to come out of this consultation?
Well, what I was really hoping for is more means to implement everything that have been said, because there's really interesting propositions that have been made, but the ones that have been put forward by the minister and the government and the ones that cost the least or would be more legislative. And if you don't increase the means, you cannot fight domestic violence.
And you're not the only one to be saying this, because this is a common, refrain we hear from many campaigners on the issue that more funding is needed, certainly in terms of providing shelter for abused women. As a result, is this at least a little step in the right direction, or what do you want the government to do if indeed you feel that not enough has been done to begin with?
Well, I think they need to hear what activists and specialists are saying, because it's not uninteresting what they're doing, but you cannot go around saying that you're going to resolve the problem. For instance, there are no prevention measures in schools or anything. If you don't put money, it's not going to be useful enough. So obviously it's a step forward in the right direction, but the fact that they pretend that they can do it without increasing means is not true.
It's also about changing mindsets, isn't it? I mean, the president overheard a conversation when he opened that national hotline on domestic violence at the beginning of this process, where a police officer was telling a woman who needed to go back home to get her clothes in order to leave an abusive partner that he couldn't do it, and as a result was rather shocked. But that's just a sign of how deep-seated attitudes are.
Yes, we've been denouncing the lack of training for police and medical personnel for decades. And, if it takes the president of the republic to actually listen to it for something to change, so be it. But yeah, you have to do a real training and change mentalities. It's not just going to happen if you do like a protocol of welcoming the victims. It has to be like a further, deeper trainings of all these professionals.
But activists are saying you need somewhere in the order of €1 billion. Yes. And the reality is we are in tight economic times. This is a government which, if anything, is cutting back, not spending more. How can you convince the government that this should take priority?
Well, I think they can find money to put it where they want to put it. It's just that this is, unlike what they said, not seen as a priority. So if they wanted, for instance, out of the billion that they've pretended to say that's going to happen, 75 is foreign aid, and only 25% is going to be dedicated to France. So if you want to start by fighting domestic violence in France, how about increasing the share of that money that is going to go directly to France and not only to foreign aid?
Just take me through, Marianne, the various steps that you believe are necessary in order to truly tackle this problem.
Well, I think it starts with education, actually, and we have to really implement in schools program on gender equality starting from a very young age, and that have to be really mandatory, and it has to be, targeting every student from age 3 to when they graduate high school should have training almost every year on this, because otherwise nothing is going to change.
Are you, as a result, given what you're hearing so far about the process, are you somewhat cynical that at the end of the day nothing substantial will be produced?
A bit, yes, I am, because I think that we have to go really deeper into these measures, and some measures are actually frightening, like the idea to remove like medical secrecy without advising the victim, which would lead probably women to not confide in doctors anymore. So I wish they would listen to the specialists more. Even if not everything is to be thrown away, I don't think they listen to us enough.
Have you been involved yourself in
Absolutely not.
In the process?
No.
Were you not given the opportunity to?
No, they have targeted, I guess, organizations that are more specialists on some subjects, and also the ones that maybe are less talkative and, less confronting them.
So as a result, you feel that the people who should be heard are not being heard?
Not all of them, no. Absolutely.
Okay, Marion Duquesne, thank you so much for that. That's Marion Duquesne, a French feminist, talking about the fact that the French government at the moment is in the middle of a national consultation process as they seek solutions to end domestic violence.